A good place to begin our discussion this morning. And Ben Mulwa joins me in studio and David Osiany. Let's begin, gentlemen, with our discussion. I mean, a lot of people, when they saw the pictures that were tweeted by both the former Prime Minister and Waiguru, talking about that meeting, and Raila saying, let bygones be bygones, and Waiguru saying that in the spirit of cohesion, the matter is now settled. And just in January, early in the year, we remember there was a lot of push and pull. Raila trying to say this case needs to be withdrawn. Waiguru has refused to declare her wealth. We can't move forward without this. And a lot of people are reading a lot more than we were shown yesterday. And they're going back to the first time, 2015, when Raila talked about NYS 1. And the way he was passionate about it, suddenly things have changed. And now there's a spirit of cohesion and handshake. And we can drop cases that are so important to Kenyans. Ben.
You know, Ken, first, good morning.
Good morning.
I think there is a real problem in this country. And this problem has been there for a very long time. And unfortunately, I think our politicians are learning very fast from our slay queens, whereby anything goes. No principles, no etiquette, no manners, no guiding philosophy. It's about myself, what I get. If today David is the one who is rolling in a Range Rover, then he's very attractive to the slay queen. Tomorrow it is Ken, it is him. Then the following day it is Ben, it is him. And that's exactly what our politicians are behaving like. And the truth is, Kenyans now need to really wake up, because the realities are money was lost. And up to 4 years down the line, we don't have any conclusive investigation around that. There is no indication that either Governor Waiguru was implicated or not, because up to date, we don't have any investigation report. So for the former Prime Minister now to embrace and decide that now let bygones be bygones, he's trying to tell us that it is okay. People can steal in this country. The minute we agree to a truce, then everything else gets buried. And this Kenyans should dig further a bit to the realities of even the build-up to the election, as you indicated, up to January this year. The hostilities were real, were very serious. Many Kenyans lost their lives and properties and all that. But when we narrow down now to what we are seeing today, it means even the guiding principles of most of these conversations were never really about the people of Kenya. Suddenly, it is about people who are really keen on what they can secure for themselves. And as I indicated even previously, Kenyans must realize that we are entirely on our own. Okay. Because as it stands now, this country is sinking. That's the truth. But now the kind of theatrics we are receiving from our politicians, you had the other day, Honorable Kalonzo saying that sasa anataka mtu wa mkono. Yeah, so you find it is unfortunate. The dishonesty in our politics is really sickening in this country.
Okay, David.
Yes.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning. And let me first pass condolences to the family of my late friend Mutinda Kavemba, my comrade, a wonderful human being, a friend of us both, if not all, who succumbed to cancer of the stomach yesterday. I saw him in hospital. But that said, I saw what happened yesterday. But I think some of us who've known Raila Odinga a bit too long listen keenly when he utters some statements. And his words were, let bygones be bygones. I leave this in the hands of competent investigators. The hatchet Raila was burying is the feud he had. He seemed to have had. Because he looked to have trained his guns almost entirely, and himself declared that Waiguru had been the chief embezzler of the NYS monies. But now he has said, I may have uttered this, but now I want the investigators to do their bidding. And I think Governor Waiguru, who is a lady I also respect, should not think that it's over there. I know that in President Kenyatta's renewed fight and onslaught against corruption and graft, many people are going to sink. Some people will seek refuge in Raila Odinga as their, savior. I'm not too sure that that will make Uhuru buckle down, if what we have seen so far is anything to go by. This is a country that loses almost 800 billion annually to graft. And from the experiences we've had, it seems for you to be able to ascend, you must walk through the garden of grafts for you to ascend to leadership. It offers you opportunity to make so much money. It almost validates every invalid thing in you. It is the reason Mugo Wairimo has walked our streets callously with a sense of pride and arrogance. Corruption is the reason we deny so many of our people a livelihood in the village. Medicines belonging to them are sold off and no one cares. Roads that are under the jurisdiction of even the governors are not done. They are pocketed and we just smile. ECD classes that should have been built are not built. Our children stay at home and no one asks these questions. And so I just hope that NYS can be expedited. Because we cannot lose 1 billion shillings, Ken, and then smile. 1 billion shillings can build entirely a level 5 hospital. True. And equip it and pay its staff for 4 months. True. So if we lose a whole level 5 hospital and all its equipment and 4 months salary to all its staff, and then we want to smile about it as though nothing happened, that's unfair. So that I would train my guns one more time. I mean, forget the politics going on. Mr. DCI, you have been extremely competent. What about NYS? Mr. DPP, you have made us proud. But where is NYS? We must be, the leadership of these agencies must demonstrate that there are set standards, and it doesn't matter whether you come from Migori or Kirinyaga. And it doesn't matter whether you're in office or you're not in office. The set standards are the same in fighting graft.
So we're not going back. You think he did not go back? I'd like to read a statement from Cyprian Nyamwamu.
Yes.
All of us are familiar with Cyprian. He says on his Facebook post, he says, is Raila Odinga a leader or a dealer? What became of levels and lanes? Is Kaburu on the list of who is to meet Raila next? Why not after meeting with Nairobi business community?
I read that post actually by Cyprian, and I think he raises very pertinent issues, because to the majority of Kenyans now, the worry is really who is standing by what Kenyans want to see, especially from our government.
Because that's what we've known Raila for.
Yeah,
that's what we've known Raila for all these years.
Up to March this year, Kenyans were still convinced that there was a journey to Canaan. Unfortunately, we understand there were crocodiles that popped up in the river, and the other day I saw people even playing with a clip of guys who harvested a crocodile. So they were telling Raila the crocodile has been removed.
The way is clear.
So he can proceed. Yes. But I think what as I indicated, what we have been largely lacking in our political systems and structures is the element of principles. And I don't think there's really anything wrong if Raila met or encountered the Governor Waiguru and they greeted each other and had a conversation. I mean, nothing stops that. And
the defamation case is withdrawn.
Yes. Now,
up to that point, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, because I mean, the defamation, if Governor Waiguru no longer feels aggrieved by what was said, then it's a right to withdraw the matter. But we must not lose sight.
She did not withdraw it because she feels it's no longer necessary. It's because it's the spirit of cohesion.
That's the thing. So for her now, it is no longer important to pursue. That's how I would look at it, given now the spirit of the handshake and all that. But I'm thinking this handshake thing, we need to investigate carefully what actually is being squeezed between the hand of the president and the Raila Odinga, because I'm seeing Kenyans are the ones actually who are being squeezed in between that. We are agreeing now to begin to bury realities. We are agreeing actually to ignore the glaring challenges that this country is facing. Even now, recently we've seen that the EU has committed to lend us an extra 4.5 billion euros. It translates to over 500 billion shillings. And nobody's speaking about it. Previously, you'd imagine Raila would have been very passionate coming out about these kinds of atrocities. I call them atrocities because in the last 4 years, the EU pumped in another 3 billion euros. and there's nothing to show for it. And what I think we need now to begin to really interrogate is, what benefit is this spirit of the handshake to the people of Kenya? Yes, we have seen a stable business environment. People now are claiming that things are stabilizing and we can do business. But where is the business? Where is the money that people are supposed to be doing? Because as it stands, still government is not able to meet its obligations, especially in terms of on the component of procurement. The government has continued to stifle actually and entrepreneurs in this country. So this idea of people just agreeing to set aside important national interests just because it is convenient for a few individuals, we must rise above that.
But where does that leave what Osiany is speaking about? Where does that leave competent investigations? Where does that leave DPP, DCI? Where does it leave them? Because I think we need to also to divorce what happened yesterday at Capitol Hill with what the DCI and DPP are likely to do.
Well, like NYS now we have 2 seasons. I think it's a series. I don't know, we are going up to season what. But but we have to really agree on certain elements. As you indicated, there has been this component of selective application of justice or investigations. Because up to now, that office of the DCI, well, Mr. Kinoti came in the other day, but we are not interested in the individual occupying the office. Kenyans have expectations in that office. 4 years down the line, we don't have any significant reporting from that particular office regarding NYS-1. NYS-2 reports in the public domain indicate that up to 9 billion shillings was lost. The case in court at the moment is about some 436 million shillings. So who took off with the rest of the 9 billion shillings? You see, at the end of the day, what we are being treated to is a circus. And I'm beginning to fear that even what we are seeing coming from the DCI and the DPP is largely part of the larger scheme, just to show people that there's something happening and people are busy, and well, something is likely to come out of it. And in the long run, it is Kenyans who are ultimately losing. That's why I think, besides just what happened at Capitol Hill yesterday, it is important now for Kenyans to begin to ask themselves, not the leaders, because to them, they are doing what is working for them. But the ordinary mwananchi is what we are doing working for us. Agreeing to continue supporting the spirit of the handshake or any other national initiative. Is it working for us? Last week, I saw a letter that was done by Bunge la Mwananchi challenging the validity of this building bridges initiative or something like that. And you find they raise very valid points, because in reality, all the issues that are this particular initiative that has no foundation even in law are obligations that are already bestowed on specific commissions or in government agencies in this country. So we must agree now to interrogate and ask the hard questions to our leaders.
Okay.
Saying jumbo to each other is not the problem, but are we really conversing about the real issues that this country is facing? Because that's where the main challenge is.
Because I'm beginning to believe that the fact that Raila can come out and shake hands with Waiguru, and it's not the first time he's meeting Waiguru.
Yes.
I think in the last year or so, he has met Waiguru several times at the Council of Governors meeting, at some functions, now at Capitol Hill. So it's not the first time, but this has never happened. Now this was a truce, it was a settling scores meeting, and it did happen. Osiany.
You know, Ken, politicians at the end of the day will disappoint us, because like all humans, they have their sets of imperfections and flaws. We may anchor our hopes on politicians and believe that with them we have the entire, we have redemption. But then we'll get to points when politicians will disappoint us. Not once. In fact, many times, or most of the times, we will be disappointed in politicians. But that is exactly the reason why we should focus on institutions.
Okay.
We must transfer our hopes from politicians to institutions. Are we able to strengthen our institutions to be effective? You see, the reason I appreciated when resources were diverted to these institutions, investigative institutions, is that if these institutions were, concretized, if they were made to be formidable, if they were thoroughly equipped in terms of resources, financial and human, then it does not matter what the politicians do.
Absolutely.
For all they care, they may want to go around and say it wasn't me, or it was me, or it is no longer us. Forget it.
But so long as the institutions
So
are
long
working,
as our institutions are functioning correctly, then we will not care what happens at Capitol Hill. We will just wait for what the investigative agencies will say. We will wait for what ESCC says.
Okay.
Trouble is, institutions like ESCC have been ridden with corruption itself.
in fact, they've never made a concrete
Okay.
statement about Anne Waiguru's involvement. Sort of they've cleared. Anne Waiguru went to court
Yeah.
to compel ESCC
Yes.
to declare that she has no role or she didn't play any role. They haven't done it.
I know.
Actually,
Yes.
But you see, this is why I'm saying, when ESCC failed, I think in President Kenyatta's wisdom, he decided to then transfer most of the powers of ESCC
To the
to DCI.
Yes.
And DCI has Kinoti. But you see, Kinoti is the person at the institution. When you lose a wonderful person at the institution, what becomes of the institution
You
itself?
lose the institution.
We must build institutions from the bottom up. If it means firing everyone who has worked in there and getting competent Kenyans with better value systems, so be it.
What Matiang'i is doing with the immigration department.
That's just as well as
Yes.
Matiang'i.
Yes. He's doing
Matiang'i,
good work with immigration.
his absence from education can almost be felt. And his job at Interior, he now almost doubles up as Minister for Transport, with all due respect to my good friend C.S. Macharia. Okay? People do not see the initiatives as Macharia's, but Matiang'i's. That's good, but that's the person. So when we have personalities, and of course I know to a great extent, even institutions rely on the people driving it because there can be saboteurs in it. But if you solidify institutions, you see, President Trump can just do so much with his rhetoric. There are things that he cannot do even if he wanted to do them because they are concretized in law.
He threw tantrums at the White House the other day.
But that's about it. beyond tantrums and beyond poetry and beyond the talk,
Yes. And
there
tweets.
are things he cannot reverse even if he wanted to. He will need the institutions to do them. He will have to rely on the Senate or the Congress to do them. If we are able to concretize our institutions,
Okay.
to solidify them, then we are sure they will outlast generations of presidents. So even if President Uhuru Kenyatta today left and the person who takes over from him does not want to fight corruption but wants to abet it, then because he ensured that the institutions were firm, it will be useless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben.
I think David is raising very interesting aspects about what has been happening. And also in the build-up to this kind of a truce that is coming between Raila. One, there's the element of the politics. And when you talk about the institutions, by the way, you see, we destroyed our culture of institutions from a very long time.
True.
Actually, this has been consistent for years. And in
Consistent and deliberate?
yeah, it has been deliberate.
Very.
Weakening and making sure that institutions cannot
not
work.
work.
And I'll give you a scenario. You remember like when the presidential election was nullified last year, there was a direct threat to the Chief
Judiciary.
Justice that we are going to revisit this matter. And a few months later, we saw Parliament actually cutting budgets from
Development budget.
especially development budget.
Yes.
The judiciary currently, unless a revision has been done,
They
was
did. They gave them 1.5 billion more.
Yes, but initially they had
They
been
gave
allocated
50
50
million.
million
Yes.
shillings for development. I mean, that cannot even build a courtroom or a serious outfit for the judiciary. And we have seen cases whereby, like the ESCC, and I've been consistent on this, the ESCC remains one of the most fraudulent institutions Kenya has ever had since independence. To date, there is nothing to show for what the ESCC has achieved. They keep giving us big stories and investigations and files and all that.
And they
But-
arrest policemen.
yeah, and then they are busy arresting policemen on Nakuru Naivasha highway.
I think
picking-
it's my colleague Trevor Mbiju who asked about arresting the small fish to
Yes.
the
No, they are-
CEO. Do you know
they-
what the explanation he said? But how do we leave them? How
Yes.
do we leave them and they contribute likely to corruption.
Yes.
So we have to arrest everyone.
Yes.
And as you look for the big fish,
Yes.
look at the small fish.
But you see, when it comes to the big fish, it becomes a circus, unfortunately.
Okay.
Largely a PR exercise. And most of the times you find this culture of destroying institutions emanated from actually the politicians themselves. That's why today we don't have a political party without a personality. Remove Raila Odinga from ODM, there is no ODM. Remove Kalonzo from Wiper, there is no Wiper. Remove Uhuru from Jubilee, or TNA, there is no TNA. Remove Ruto from URP, there is no. So that has been a deliberate effort.
Okay.
The idea is it reaches a point whereby you really have to sing the tune of the appointing authority for you to be able to execute your mandate.
Okay.
If you fall out of favor with them, then you cannot execute your mandate. In the long run, what we are seeing now is these institutions we expect independence from begin to become tools of the executive or the appointing authority. Whereby if today I have beef with Ken, then I'll send the ESCC to ambush you and harass you, and then tomorrow when you do a press conference and say now we are together and all that, then suddenly these charges are dropped. And this has been consistent, which is very unfortunate.
We need to take a break, Ben.
Yes.
At the top of the hour, we are coming back with this discussion.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
All right. So with us, we still have discussions to do, including we are going to talk about Kalonzo Musyoka, the envoy to South Sudan. And let's take you back to the KICC now, just before we get back to our discussion. Julian Samboko joins us once more from KICC. Julian, what is the latest development since we last spoke from the KICC?
Thank you very much, Ken. As I mentioned earlier this morning, today the focus is on B2B, where it is business-to-business matchmaking. The idea is to leverage the synergies between businesses in China and those in Kenya, and to see how the two countries can collaborate and boost trade. And the one kicking off just behind me at the Aberdare Hall is the agro-processing business-to-business matchmaking. So traders from both sides of the divide in terms of China and Kenya are coming together to have a dialogue and to see the areas in which they can come together and collaborate in terms of trade, in terms of production. And shortly I'll just be bringing on board two traders, one from Kenya, one from China. Madam Caroline, if you could just please come on board. If you could just introduce yourself and what brings you to this session and what do you expect from this?
Okay, my name's Caroline Geshinga, all the way from Rimuru. I really appreciate for 2B2 for inviting me in this Aberdare Hall to learn more about food production, packages, and to trade with outside countries.
Presently, do you export to any markets, especially China, and what are you expecting in terms of this?
Currently, I'm not exporting anything. I'm new in business, so I want to learn more about it so that I can be one of the traders.
Which particular crops do you deal in, and what are some of your hopes in terms of what this session can help you do?
Fresh vegetables. Yeah.
And what are your expectations from this in terms of fresh vegetables?
My expectations are to know how I can do the trade, how I can know the process, how to do it, and how I can export them. I can register myself how to export the goods.
I see. I see. Thank you very much, Caroline. She just mentioned that some of her expectations is to see how she can get registered and to deal in the export market. I want to bring on board a trader from China who is here for the session as well. Mr. Hugh, if you could just please come.
Hello, Mr. Jelins. Yeah, hello, everybody. This is Hector from China, from Liying machine. We are focused on hydroponic solution. Now I tell you why I come here. Before here, I don't know Kenya, but after arrive, I find Kenya the landscape very beautiful, the people very kindly, and also the music rhythm is very comfortable. So I think it's very good country. This is our first time to Kenya for exhibition, but I find many business we can do because we have many good solutions for agriculture. But here agriculture many places maybe need technology and also some cooperation. So that's why I come here. We are focused on the hydroponic solution and also modern agriculture. After we come here, many customers also come to us for check the parts, check the machine. They find it's very interesting. It's very good. So we do too small mini order for simple. So anyway, it's my order to come here. Also, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hugh. As you have heard from the two traders, the optimism around here is that the two countries will now be able to partner better to tap into the two markets, with Chinese focusing more on Kenya and Kenyan traders focusing more on China, and to unlock the potential which the government has been pushing for in terms of preferential treatment, to widen the access of Kenyan traders into the Chinese market and address the trade imbalance that the two countries currently have. Back to you, Ken.
All right, Julian, thank you very much. And I'm still on the avocado bit. We hardly have enough for us, so we can be exporting. Very interesting indeed. One of the things they're looking at is exporting avocado, you know. And I told Julian, we hardly have enough for ourselves.
Yeah, we
No,
don't
you
have
know
even
what
have
we-
enough.
If we can be organized, and this is why I like Professor Kivuta Kibwana. The guy just realized that there's too much mangoes in Makueni. And that mangoes are just wasted. So he said, let me organize these people into circles and teach them that these things they have for gifts in their homes that just fall every day can actually make sense. And so when he built the factory and made sense for them, the Makueni farmers, I mean, people who did not even ask God to have mangoes on their parcels of land, now have
Are making
an
money
income out of it.
Yes.
There is sufficient avocado in this country. It is only that we are not organized. We don't even know its worth. So when you go to Kisii, my friend, the avocados there are too much, but they do not know that they can have a lot more value for it than just being in
selling them on the
Suneka
streets, yes.
or being in Keroka
yeah.
and
Direct on
selling
building,
it
yes.
to Nairobi comers like, you know, like Ken Mijungu. They can actually get value for it. And that's why I question every time. Don't we have county leaders who can think outside the box and make sense, economic sense for the citizens of their counties?
I have an answer for you,
Yeah.
my brother David.
Yeah.
Leadership in this country has never been about making economic sense for the people, except for a
For
very
yourself.
Yeah,
The
it is very
individuals.
straightforward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except for
And the inner circle.
very few
Yeah, right.
lot. Out of like 2,000 elected leaders we have in this country, the percentage would be like 0.1%. Leadership in this country has always been about making economic sense for yourself. And you just stated that a few minutes ago. That's why stealing public resources is your surest way to becoming the next member of parliament, the next governor, the next senator, the next whatever MC and that kind of a thing. So when these people go to their respective offices, even appointed ones like cabinet secretaries, like really, we don't need even anybody to teach us anything about agriculture in this country. We don't. I have seen in Makueni since Professor Kibwana started setting up the sand dams. Little villages there by the riverside actually growing cabbages bigger than anything. In fact, the farmers in Olkalau would be shocked at the kind of cabbages Makueni is producing. And it is basics. When we hear Kiunjuri saying that he wants to form a task force to investigate why maize in Kisumu is turning yellow, you realize how scandalous and how ridiculous people can get in this country. It has never been about service. And when you look, and that's where the distinction comes in. When you critically look through the history of somebody like Professor Kivuta Kibwana, it has really been about the people. Even the NCCK initiatives that they did back in the 90s, agitating for reforms and multi-party, you can tell there has been a consistent string.
Where did Kirinyaga get lost? Because he was among them.
Exactly. Yes. But now I'll flip it. Look at somebody like our friend who is having issues with the national government advertising whatever platform, Ayub Savula. For him, it has been about, the primary driver has been about how much money can I make as quickly as possible so that I can continue impressing up. And we have seen this. We also have the fellow who is thrives on fundraisings. I mean, why are we doing fundraisings? Because the people in my village in Makueni do not require those fundraisings. What they need is government to invest in the basic infrastructure. I mean, a borehole, if we sit today and do a fundraiser for 10 million shillings, that would actually do four or five boreholes
600,000
that will serve that community for the next I don't know how many decades. So this twisted idea of leadership is actually what is destroying this country. And I wanted to quickly revisit the issue we were discussing about this handshake. Kenyans may be feeling lost and abandoned, but believe you me, David, we have the best opportunity that this country has ever had since independence.
We do.
It is actually, I think, divine intervention that all the problems that this country has ever faced since 1963 are coalescing together. So it will be very easy to deal with them.
I didn't
Believe me.
I didn't see it that way.
Yeah, it is the best opportunity God has ever given this country.
The best the problems
We
are coming
can
together.
never have another opportunity like
Okay.
that. Let them consolidate. Let them get together. It will be so easy to evict all
of them because
in
they're in one
2022.
room.
And by the way, it is not mandatory. There is no law that states that a government must stay for 5 years. There is no law. So we can quickly let's let them handshake quickly. Then we remove them even by next year.
No.
They now get proper leaders in this country
Okay.
who have an agenda for Kenya.
Ben is the master of poetry. Let me tell you. I mean, there is an advantage that there is no opposition that is baseless. You know, oftentimes opposition becomes baseless. They know, even when the government does something good, just for the sake of being opposition, you must oppose.
Yes.
There is a rare opportunity in the handshake
Yes.
to resolve these age-long differences and baseless politic. There is an opportunity that the handshake has offered for President Kenyatta to focus on delivering a legacy. There is. Because had he had the Right Honorable Raila Odinga outside, still gathering the nation against him, it would be practically impossible. There is an opportunity in the handshake to try and address the issues around electoral malpractice, as captured in that initiative, the Building Bridges Initiative document. There is an opportunity that the handshake offers for dealing with corruption decisively. And I say this is the first time. You know, I've been shocked. I thought Uhuru was a joke when he said he will fight corruption until that Taj Mahal went down. For me, that was the point when I knew it is business unusual. And when he was confronted, he said, you say my brother was part of this mess, no problem. Investigate, find him culpable, throw him in. It's the first time you see a president having even a semblance. Because people will say, no, he hasn't done enough. I mean, but even a semblance of a fight against graft was unheard of from any president in the past. And so, even though the handshake provides those opportunities to deal holistically with the problems that have been bedeviling the country, our focus must not shift from holding individuals accountable. Our focus must not shift from the unresolved corruption issues. Okay. Some have been dealt with, others are in the pipeline. The ones in the pipeline we must pursue. That's why the NYS case, for me, needs to still be focus of the media and the nation and the country. Okay. We must still focus and hold governors accountable for the resources that have been at their disposal that have not been used to improve the lives of Kenyans. I said, Makueni up to 2017 received 23.3 billion. The same amount that was received by Garissa, Kisumu, Siaya, Migori.
Okay.
Bungoma, 30 billion.
Okay.
The question is, why is it that some county in the back of beyond, in the home of Ben here, called Makueni,
okay,
doing far much better, yet the resources have been the same?